Hello everyone, myself Dr. Sanjay Kumar Soni. In this video, I am going to discuss about cervical vertebra. The cervical spine is the most superior portion of the vertebral column, lying between the cranium and the thoracic vertebrae. It consists of 7 distinct vertebrae, 2 of which are given unique names. The first cervical vertebra is known as the atlas. The second cervical vertebra is known as axis. Each cervical vertebra consists of a thin ring of bone or vertebral arch surrounding the vertebral and transverse foramen. The vertebral foramen is a large opening in the center of the vertebra that provides space for the spinal cord and its meninges as they pass through the neck. Flanking the vertebral foramen on each side are the much smaller transverse foramina. The transverse foramina surround the vertebral arteries and vein, which along with the carotid arteries and jugular vein have the vital job of carrying blood to and from the brain. Extending from the vertebral arch are several bony processes that are involved in muscle attachment and movement of the neck. A thickened region of bone as the body lies anterior to the vertebral foramen and forms the main bone mass in all vertebrae except the atlas. The atlas and the axis have additional features that mark them apart from other cervical vertebrae. Coming on to the atlas is the first cervical vertebra and it articulates with the occiput of the head and the axis. It differs from other cervical vertebrae in that it has no vertebral body and no spinous. The atlas has lateral masses which are connected by an anterior and posterior arch. Each lateral contains a superior articular facet for articulation with occipital condyles and inferior articular facet for articulation with cervical vertebra 2 or axis. The anterior arch contains a facet for articulation with the dens of the axis. This is secured by transverse ligament of the atlas which attaches to the lateral masses. The posterior arch has a groove for the vertebral artery and C1 spinal nerve. Now axis. The axis of cervical vertebra 2 is easily identifiable due to its dens or odontide process which extends superiorly from the anterior portion of the vertebra. This is the odontide process. So anyone can easily identify the cervical vertebra 2 or axis. The dens articulates with anterior arch of the atlas, in doing so creating the medial atlantoaxial joint. This allows for rotation of the head independently of the torso. The axis also contains superior articular facet which articulates with the inferior facet of the atlas to form the two lateral atlantoaxial joint. Now coming on to the joints. The joints of the cervical spine can be divided into two groups, those that are present throughout the vertebral column and those unique to the cervical spine. First, the joints that are present throughout the vertebral column. There are two different joints present throughout the vertebral columns. Number 1, between vertebral bodies. Adjacent vertebral bodies are joined by intervertebral disc made up of fibrocartilage. This type of cartilaginous joint known as symphysis. Between vertebral arches formed by the articulation of superior and inferior articular processes from adjacent vertebra. This is a synovial type of joint. Now coming to the joints unique to cervical spine. These are atlantoaxial and second one is atlanto-occipital joint. Atlantoaxial joints are found by the articulation between the atlas and the axis. The lateral atlantoaxial joint formed by the articulation between the inferior facet of the lateral masses of C1 and the superior facet of the C2. These are plain type of synovial joints. Medial atlantoaxial joint formed by the articulation of the dens of cervical vertebra 2 with the articular facet of cervical vertebra 1. This is a pivot type of synovial joint. Atlanto-occipital joint consists of an articulation between the spine and the cranium. They occur between the superior facet of the lateral masses of the atlas and the occipital at the base of cranium. These are condylide type synovial joint and permit flexion at the head. For example, nodding of the neck. Now coming on to the ligaments. There are 6 major ligaments to consider in the cervical spine. The majority of these ligaments are present throughout the entire vertebral column. Now coming to ligaments that are present throughout the vertebral columns are anterior and posterior longitudinal ligaments. Anterior and posterior longitudinal ligaments are long ligaments that run the length of the vertebral column, covering the vertebral bodies and the intervertebral disc. Second ligament is ligamentum flavum. Ligamentum flavum connects the laminae of adjacent vertebra. Now, interspinatus ligament. Interspinal ligament connects the spinous process of adjacent vertebra. Now, let's discuss ligaments that are unique to cervical spine. That is number 1, nuchal ligament. Second is transverse ligament of the atlas. Nuchal ligaments, a continuation of the supraspinous ligament. It attaches to the tips of the spinous process from cervical vertebra 1 to cervical vertebra 7 and provides the proximal attachment for the rhomboids and trapezius muscle. Now coming on to the transverse ligament of the atlas. It connects the lateral mass of the atlas and in doing so anchor the dens in its place. Some texts consider the interspinous ligament to be the part of the nuchal ligament. Now coming on to the anatomical relationship of the cervical vertebra. The cervical spine has a close relationship with several neurovascular structures in the neck. The transverse foramina of the cervical vertebra provide a passageway by which the vertebral artery, veins and sympathetic nerves can pass. The only exception is the cervical vertebra 7th. The spinal nerves are intimately related to the cervical vertebra. They extend from the above their respective vertebra through the intervertebral foramen created by the joints at the articular passage. Again, cervical vertebra 7th is an exception. There are 8 spinal nerves associated with the 7 cervical vertebra. This picture is showing the right vertebral artery, note its course through the transverse foramina of the cervical vertebra. Now coming on to the clinical relevance or injury to the cervical spine. Number 1 is Jefferson fracture of the atlas, hyperextension or whiplash injury. Number 3 is hangman fracture. Now, Jefferson fracture of the atlas. A vertical fall onto an extended neck, like diving into excessively shallow water, can compress the lateral masses of the atlas between the occipital condyle and the axis. This causes them to be driven apart, fracturing one or both anterior posterior arches. If the fall occurs with enough force, the transverse ligament of the atlas may also be ruptured. Since the vertebral foramen is large, it is unlikely that there will be damage to the spinal cord at the C1 level. However, there may be damage further down the vertebral column. Now coming on to the hyperextension or whiplash injury. A rear end traffic collision or a poorly performed rugby tackle can both result in the head being whipped back on the shoulder, causing whiplash. In minor cases, the anterior longitudinal ligament of the spine is damaged, which is acutely painful for the patient. In more severe cases, fracture can occur to any of the cervical vertebra as they are suddenly compressed by rapid deceleration. Again, since the vertebral foramen is large, there is less chances of spinal cord involvement. The worst case scenario for this injury is the dislocation or subluxation of the cervical vertebra occurs. This happens at the C2 level, where the body of the C2 moves anteriorly with respect to the C3. Such an injury may well lead to spinal cord involvement, as an consequences quadriplegia or death may occur. More commonly, subluxation occur at the C6 and C7 level 50% in 50% of cases. Now coming on hangman fracture. The hangman fracture is the name given to a fracture of the pars interarticularis, which is a bony column between the superior and inferior articular facet of the axis. Its name originates from the mechanism by which it is most commonly created as a result of the sudden deceleration that occurring in hanging. Such an injury is likely to be lethal, as either the fracture fragments or the force involved are likely to rupture the spinal cord, causing deep unconsciousness, respiratory and cardiac failure, and death. Last is the fracture of the dens. Fracture of the dens make up around 40% of the fracture of the axis and are most commonly caused by traffic collision and falls. Often these fractures are unstable and are at high risk of avascular necrosis due to the isolation of the distal fragment from any blood supply. As a result, fracture of dens often take a long time to heal. As with any fracture of the vertebral column, there is a risk of spinal cord involvement. Despite being some of the smallest and lightest bone in the axial skeleton, the cervical vertebra perform many important functions that are critical to the survival of the human body. Vital nerves and blood vessels passing through the neck are protected from mechanism damaged by the bony arches of the cervical vertebra. The cervical vertebra also provide support to the head and neck, including supporting the muscles that move the region of the body. The muscle that attach to the vertebral process provide posture of the head and neck throughout the day and have the greatest endurance of all the body muscles. Finally, the many joints formed between cervical vertebra provides incredible flexibility that allows the head and neck to rotate, flex and extend. With this, I have completed the anatomy of the cervical vertebrae.